Yes, yes, yes. Reminisce, reminisce, reminisce. Carrying the traditions of Sankofa, because we got to go back and collect what we have forgotten. I go by Logic, and I'm here with my brother.
Mind Bender
Who
Supreme
we
in the
here with,
cut.
man?
One love. What,
That's
what,
it, man.
what?
That's it, man. Representing hip hop, representing knowledge, representing understanding, and just creating spaces where we can just build. Physically, digitally, man. You know us, man. We everywhere. We stay connected to our community, to our peoples, and keep things building, man.
That's what's
Yeah,
up.
man. So we definitely have like a
That's,
special guest who'll be tapping in with us, in a bit. But as always, we always got to start off with our check-ins, man. So let me know how you're doing. How you
I'm
feeling,
doing
brother?
pretty good. And thank you for asking. I got a massage yesterday, and it was wild because I booked a massage last Thursday, and literally when that freak snowstorm happened, that just came down for like 2 hours. It just like was I had a massage booked, and then the massage place was like, "Yo, we don't want to have people here then leaving when they're like lightheaded and then like slip in the snow."
Oh,
So we gotta
oh.
like we gotta cancel your booking, and I was like, "Yo, I need it." so I got it rescheduled, and
Okay.
I got yeah, man, I'm still like trying. I'm still doing this. You'll see me like cracking my bones a little, but
Right,
I
right.
got a nice healthy touch, and I've been doing light exercises, and I feel mind, body, and soul in alignment. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. How about you?
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, like this week, I don't know. To be honest, I've been feeling kind of off for the past, couple of weeks. I mean, since I came back from Africa, just like readjusting, and it's a lot of like internal work going on, but I'm also
Mm,
grateful for these moments because they bring, a lot of like awareness to self, and just areas where I need to like put focus on and nurture and whatnot. So I'm always grateful for that, but just remind myself to take things slow. You know what I'm saying? Like slow motion is better than no motion. So as
that's a
long as
real.
I'm slowly going and staying like that. But yeah, like I'm very much inspired. Like right now I'm in Regent Park at Daniel Spectrum.
Oh, that's where you
You
are.
know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've been, building some different partnerships in different communities, and looks like there's some stuff for me to build on, in this community. Like just down the street is the Nelson Mandela School.
Hmm.
School's named after Nelson Mandela. So and I got some ideas, about that, which I'll save for another day though. But I just feel like Regent Park, there's a lot of like culture and community, and that's something that I feel I've been kind of lacking. I know that sounds kind of like weird for someone like myself to say, but I mean, like just like where I physically live, as it's not necessarily in a community per se. So just being in the region is like a close proximity, and it just feels nice. You know what I mean? Like even in the center when I'm walking around, I'm seeing kids, I'm seeing elders, I'm seeing people all in between. Man, I saw Puffy L's just earlier. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the local artists and people are around, and I'm like, yes, this is the community, what I mean, that we got to celebrate, and people like us need to be connected too. So yeah, so with that being said, like I'm feeling like inspired and seeing what kind of collaborations that could be built out here, and the stories that could be told, because as you know, man, we're hitting the ground, man. We're talking with the people, we're doing interviews and making sure that our culture is documented, by
Oh,
the
that's
people
right.
for the people.
That's right. Oh, yo, man, it's in this age we are the media because yo, there's no more mainstream media anymore, and they are definitely not interested in mom and pop people of the stories, people of the street stories and community engagement the way that we used to come from. So we have to do it ourselves, and it feels good. And it's good to know that we can just reflect these truths and just just big up our people. Is that Joe?
Yeah, we got Joe in the cup, man. He's we got our special guest who's going to be coming through and sharing some of his new endeavors. This weekend we were at the book launch, the book release for DJ Dominique, which was inspired by Joe's daughter. I'll let him like share the story and whatnot. We also did like a interview on site. What I'm saying, which is on YouTube, so y'all can go check that out as well. But we got the man of the hour here with us. Yeah, I got my signed copy at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So we had to
sir.
represent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, should we just like, bring him in right now?
Let's do
You
it.
have
Let's
anything
do
else
it.
you want to build it? Yeah, you want to give like an introduction, quick introduction,
Uh,
Joe?
well, yeah. I mean, He's been on the show before, but it's wonderful to have him again because he's definitely one of the most inspiring community teachers and a man that's on some Wu Tang business for the children, which we're
Mm.
definitely about. And he's an educator, he's a DJ, he's a journalist, he's a father, he's just a good hip hop Toronto head, and I love the homie. I want to introduce the brother Joe G. Very
Okay,
happy, very happy
let's
that he's
bring
back.
it. Let's bring him in. Bring him in.
Yo, 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 can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes,
Yeah, Joe, we can hear
yes,
you
Can you
loud
hear
and
sir.
me?
clear. Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
sir. We
wicked,
got you.
wicked. I've been trying to get on Logic's level with some new equipment, so I got a little bit of a mic setup upgrade. So
Oh,
just
it's
Okay,
plugged
clear.
into my audio interface, and yeah. What's up, y'all?
you looking good, man. You got the mic. You got the the HD camera going on and everything. I love that, man.
Yo,
That's what's
yeah,
up.
man.
All is well, Joe. All is
Cool,
well.
man.
Yo, we got to check in though. The Logic did we
That's it.
got we do it. We got you do a little cipher round table check in with the brothers. How you just
We
general
have to.
energy? How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling real thankful to be in y'all's company, you know?
Peace.
And yeah, I really appreciate the love, the support, the interview that you posted on YouTube. That looks great. I feel good. I was reflecting on Mindbender's mind, body, and soul thing, and I've been
Mhm.
thinking about time because I'm happy that you showed so much love for the book that I wrote, Dominique the DJ. Here it is. But
Yes,
I'm
yes.
also really appreciative of being able to share it with the two of you because I've known y'all for 15 years. Like,
Yeah.
definitely Mindbender, actually closer to 20 because I probably first saw you at the hip hop shows back in the days, back in the early 2000s. And I
Yep.
remember I was introduced to you, Logic, when I was doing radio at Ryerson TMU.
Ryerson,
So
way back.
oh 08, you know what I mean? So I'm just appreciative of all these. Same with Adrian. Same with Adrian Hales, the artist, the brilliant artist. I met Adrian when he was DJing, when he had long dreads as DJ Saute. So it's kind of
Hey,
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Wow.
so it just means more when there's people that are involved in this project that I've known or I've known of or I've been like aware of for a decade plus.
Mm.
Because not to get long winded, but I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking about the times that we're in and the economic chaos. You know what I mean? And how
Got you.
it's how it's like back in July, I was riding for Kamala. Just to put it bluntly.
oh
And
yeah,
now here
yeah,
we are.
yeah.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? And now, and it's kind of like this is chaotic, but the times will keep going. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And hopefully, all of us will be able to look back and say, "Whew." And so I'm just kind of, and so I'm just like reflecting back on like being in the moment versus what was what was going on years ago. And I've been on,
Mm.
we're all on this journey together, but I can trace y'all's work back over, you know,
Yeah,
15 maybe
yeah,
20 years, and that kind of gives me a bit of comfort versus because like in the moment certain things are crazy, but it's like I've known, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
this relationship has lasted, you know what I mean?
Hmm, hmm,
So,
hmm.
that's kind of that's what I'm kind of meditating on is the time that's connected to the relationships that fuel me because I also admire what y'all do, right? And so
Hmm,
so I'm
hmm.
good. And I'm just reflecting on how time connects
Yeah,
all
and
this stuff.
yeah, no, I appreciate that, and in the spirit of Ubuntu, I am because we are like,
Mhm.
I'm also inspired by how you show up as well. I mean, now you got me thinking about like I need to make like a book with my daughters now. You know what I'm
Go
saying? Because
ahead
I know
for
there's a
it.
lot of
Do it.
stories
Do it.
and whatnot, and it's a great like tool, a great like memory. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? And who knows, before you know it, like your daughters may be, like writing their own books now. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be
yeah.
like, Dad, I got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna set
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and you're gonna be featured in my book. You feel me?
Yeah.
So
That's part of the
um
plan, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I definitely, no, feel that. And also too, just like the way how like you show up in education and navigating those spaces, because we've had conversations and it's not easy at times. You know what I'm saying? It takes a certain kind of mental and emotional like willpower, if you will, I would even add on some like spiritual armor as
Mm.
well sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But like, but you're
Well, you
doing
know
it.
what,
You're
the
doing it.
spiritual thing, I think a lot of my success in education over the past little while, because I'm not in one classroom, I'm connected to a
Hmm.
bunch of different schools, and I'm able to develop, excuse me, relationships. And that's a big
Right.
part of it. And then you hear
Or
about teachers who are successful because they develop relationships with their students based on who they are and
Hmm.
how they
Hmm.
move and what they offer. But Logic, your name was in the building today. Your name was at Oakwood,
Mm.
you
oh,
know? 100%. I was
Let's get
rallying
it.
for you. You're probably going to get a call soon. And one thing I
Well,
heard, which was
mhm,
really interesting, because we're always, in schools in the spirit of addressing anti-black racism, right? And how and trying to dismantle it, right? And trying to kind
mhm,
of big up the students and make their experiences rich. So
mhm.
one thing this young teacher was telling me, she has really good relationships with all the students. They talk to her, and she's like, a lot of their problems come from what they see online constantly, and they have trouble
Right.
processing all the negative, toxic.
Mm,
They're worried about Trump. They're worried about their image. They're worried about all these bad things, and they have trouble
mm.
um, processing all the stuff they have in their head. And she's like,
mhm.
I try and tell them that, yo, the world is not what you see on the screen all the time, and you still have a life you can live. And she's like, she has to kind of deprogram them because
Facts. Yeah,
they
yeah,
get
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
down. I was not expecting that because I'm used to understanding things like systemic racism and like disproportionate suspension rates and lack of representation in the curriculum, but
Right,
I
right.
wasn't expecting a lot of the source of their problems just to be like what's on their timeline and their algorithm.
Well,
Which I was
yeah,
like, wow,
I would
That's
say like,
we need to get Logic in
everything.
here.
Well,
real.
you know what? It really is. And I would say like, since like COVID, like, there's been a lot of just like changes where I'm realizing that for students, we got to get back to like the basics of like communications, you know what I mean? So that's why we do like a lot of check-ins, a lot of
Mhm.
icebreakers and just kind
Yeah,
of getting them out of their head and more into like being present in the
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
And
yeah.
just like what you're saying, there is so much to on. I mean, it's overwhelming even for adults. You know what I'm saying? There's always so much stuff going on. Never mind, a young person who's coming into themselves, coming of age, and trying to figure themselves out. And then not having the space to kind of like unpack this mental clutter. Because that's really
Apparently
what it
they
is. It's
don't.
it's just it's just a lot, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting too, and not to get too much into school board politics, but we
Yeah.
are in the month of April, and in September they launched the cell phone ban.
Oh shit! In the
Right.
classrooms, how
Yeah,
hard? Wow. So do the kids got to leave it in their lockers, or do you
yeah,
take
and
it?
so it's most effective in middle school because basically the generation who are maybe 14 and up,
You
it
already know
might
what it
be too late for
is.
them. It might be a wrap already. So, but they are in middle school, K to 8. It's heavy. Like that phone has to be in the
Yeah.
bag. It has to be put away unless there's a family
Yeah.
emergency. So they're doing that to kind of recapture or to help deprogram the kids. But
Yeah.
high school,
Mm,
different story. I'm not laughing, but it's interesting because I had no I
yeah.
just didn't
Yo,
realize it's that serious.
Well,
Yo, I've seen
mhm.
various footage of students scrapping teachers who try to take away their phones. There is that very,
Yeah.
very heartbreaking. I don't even know how the full things, but that black kid who put that teacher in a coma because she tried to interrupt him and he had a Nintendo Switch. I don't know, like
Right.
he was playing and he like it was a very, very disturbing
I
video. And
wonder
like
what the relationship between that student and that teacher was, because
it,
relationships
For
For
sure,
serious.
for
sure.
sure, for sure. And like you could see something in his body language, like he gave no fucks. And like there is so much to tell in that story. But I've seen that. And like and the other
Yeah.
thing is like I was reading about how Instagram is one of the primary causes of psychological like imbalance in these teens these days. Like they really derive their sense of self-worth from their Instagram profile more so than their academic
Yeah.
achievements, their job, all the others like
Yeah,
actual parts
that's
of
one of
life.
the teachers was like,
So,
"Yo." she just mentioned quickly like a student in tears because someone unfollowed them, and
Yes. Yeah, like
Like
it's
when
that's
people
seen
it's a real
as,
thing, and I
yeah,
just
yeah.
it's I have to be I'm very aware of the huge distance between what my sense of self was like when I was a teenager versus today. It's like being on. It's like they're living in Star Trek. You know, with
absolutely
my
other
sense
world.
of self, and
Yeah.
you'll like this example. Around grade 10, I started being not less interested in track because practice was boring, but also
Mhm.
it's because practice took place at the time Rap City was on, and that's like
Mm,
half an hour.
yeah,
That's it.
What you gonna
So,
do?
like, you
yeah,
know
yeah.
what?
No,
My
no
sense of
doubt, no
self
doubt,
is I
no
gotta
doubt,
get home.
no doubt. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very
like
simple, you know. If I can watch my videos and maybe see a Wu Tang, a boot camp, sense of self is up here.
yes,
You know what
exactly.
I
Like
mean?
you make those
Simple time.
choices. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
When I found out how much if I had to like stop smoking weed,
Mm.
it was literally like the summer of '92. Like we're like watching Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and we're like it's grade 9, and my homie's like, "Yo, like, are we gonna like go to the NBA? Like, we have to stop smoking weed if we want to be like Canadian dudes and
Mm.
go to the NBA." And I'm like, "Am I gonna be a ball player or a rapper?" I'm like, "I'm gonna choose rap because I
Mhm,
can still
mhm.
smoke
Yeah,
weed
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
rap."
yeah, 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 yeah.
And so like I remember the moment where I'm like, nah, I don't have the discipline to go to the NBA.
Right,
That's
right.
that's those
Yeah.
are not simple, but yeah, there was compared to what these kids have to go through. Like you and your homie made that choice, and you wanted to rap, and that's what you loved, and boom, that's what you did. There was no following.
Yeah.
There was no other. Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
for
there
sure.
it's all like perception, and just it's for the young people, this is how they get validated. It's their, like, their community exists online,
Mm.
even if it's with people that they don't necessarily know per se, just
Yeah,
people that
yeah,
they've
yeah.
connected with, and that's like holds a lot of value. And then on the flip side, it's like when we're in person, you see like the challenges with like communication, because we're not talking with emojis, or like other acronyms, or whatever they do online. It's like you got to actually like talk to people and build, and work with that executive functioning and whatnot. So
There's
yeah,
a
like
lot of
it's where we're at right now. Yeah.
there's a lot of fundamental basics that are really
Oh,
falling apart. Like
for
I mean,
sure.
like we like I was saying with Logic, we're talking about like a black American version of saying it might be like we're losing recipes. That's what I'm seeing some of these cats saying in the streets. But it's like Joe, I'm seeing how this generation of kids do not understand the importance of handwriting, and a lot of them are not being taught cursive writing
Oh
anymore,
man.
so that's gone. And like fundamental communication basics that humans are having, I know that in the dating world it's just atrocious. It's atrocious. People do not know how to communicate. Like emotional intelligence is at a
Mm.
very low state, and if people don't know how to articulate emotions to people in the real world, they only know how to swipe and how to like communicate, like,
Mm.
and like use dating apps instead,
So
like.
what
Mm.
I'm hearing is that we all
Um,
need to go back to kindergarten, is what I'm hearing. We need to go
well,
back to like literally like those levels and learning the basics of like just, you
you
know,
know what's crazy, Logic? One of my
yeah.
mentors in the education field, she's a big boss in the school board, right? She's done it
Mhm.
all, but she says the most like the things you learn in kindergarten will last you throughout your whole life in some form
I
or
believe
fashion.
it.
It's
I believe
communication,
it.
handwriting, emotional intelligence,
Working
kindness.
together, kindness. Yes, yes, exactly. Exactly. Manners and
Cooperate
respect,
cooperation.
Yeah,
cooperation.
yeah.
Those are the fundamentals, and right now, because we're such in this like individualist like culture where everybody's just focused on themselves, and wants that validation, or whatever, it becomes kind of isolating.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there's never enough. There's never enough. Like
It's endless. Yeah.
Well,
the
how do you all? Let me challenge you. How do the two of you practice recentering yourselves and getting your minds right? Because I mean, we know that there is enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll be lost in the sauce and end up like
Well, I think
certain rappers
just
from Chicago.
uh,
How do you all
I think the
practice.
simple thing is because like I'm always like seeking knowledge and just like like for example, if I'm looking at the stuff that I follow online, it's individuals who are similar to me that are thinking on ideas and bringing interesting concepts and whatnot. I don't really get excited for like like the gossip or the drama. I mean, sometimes I get sucked into it because that's what it does.
Yeah,
But I'd never really spend too much time. Like that's not like the foundation of my like conversations or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like if someone brings something up, then I might add on. But I think for me, like my protective layer is being intentional with just like the content that I'm interested in. So when I look at like
mm,
my algorithm, that's something I do with my students a lot. I'm like,
nice.
okay, well, let's look at your For You page. You know what I'm
Whew,
saying? And a lot
yeah.
of times I don't even want to show that, right? Because
Mm,
it's like
Oh wow.
it is what it is. It
that's
is
a
what it is
very
because but it because that's the way how the algorithm works, right? An image may pop up and then you may like click and look on it and then it tells the algorithms like, oh,
of
there's
course.
a response to that. So let's
Yeah,
show you more of this type of image
yeah,
or whatever. Now for a student, what I'm saying, it's like it could just be whatever, like an attractive like female, just whatever caught his eye and clicked it. But now your For You page is showing more of that, and for a young person, again, with all the different senses and stuff like that as well. But for me now, because of like who I'm looking at, like my For You page is like incredible. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting so much gems and knowledge and just all kinds of things. But I think my balance is really having real life connections, like going out and being with people, because like I still value that in community. That's why I'm here in Regent Park right now. Like
yeah.
I could be at home, I could be wherever, but I'm like, I physically need to be in community. I don't care what community. I just need to see my people. I need
Right.
to see the elders. I need to see the kids. I need to see people doing their thing,
Yeah,
living life.
yeah.
And that's what gets me going, right? Because if I didn't have that, then yeah, I'd probably be like my youth. I'd probably be going crazy for real.
There's one thing I was thinking about when you say that. I guess three quick points. Sometimes I wish Instagram had a setting where you could reset your whole algorithm, your whole
Mm,
profile. I don't think it allows
interesting.
you to do that because sometimes what I do is I'll unfollow or I'll say I'm not interested
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
media. So I'm like, I wish I could just blah reset this thing. Next thing is, I was like, okay, well, what's some healthy brain food that y'all have on your feeds that you'd share? Like, so for example, I've been coming across a couple interviews from Felicia Rashad, and she'll
Okay.
Okay.
just drop some gems. Like she dropped one where she was on the Breakfast Club. She's saying by the age of 35, she started realizing that beauty is something that you find when you look within. And then she said this other thing about her mother. She can go live in every timeline, every space, every place, and she'll be good because the way her mother raised her. Her mother
Mm,
gave her aphorisms. I was like, whoa, what is that word? Just like aphorisms saying like the universe has no ill will to you, so you should have no ill will to it, or just real
mm.
bars, right? So I'm like, woo.
Word. Yeah.
So check up,
I saw that
Felicia.
interview. I actually
Yeah,
saw the interview.
we
Yeah,
saw
very
that.
nice.
Logic, you're
No, it's
on it.
fire. Well,
And
that's
there's
what I mean, though. So, yeah,
oh,
go,
there's
go,
one
go
more.
ahead. Go
The
ahead.
third point. The third point. There's a really good interview that I saw. Almost all of it was Damon Wayans. He was on Club
Mm,
Shay Shay, and he's in a really incredible place because he's 65. He's been through
Crazy.
so much in Hollywood, and he's really at peace, which is really
Yeah.
cool. And it was nice because I mean, people who run media companies and program interviews, like let's say Club Shay Shay, I don't watch a lot of them when they're dealing with like sexualized celebrities. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not for me. You know what I mean? But it was cool that the Damon Wayans one, he's an elder. And
mhm.
so if you notice, I mentioned Damon Wayans, I mentioned Felicia Rashad, who are elders. And luckily we came up watching them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now we
Yeah.
can still watch them. But like if you think of the generation now, I don't know if they're gonna have that caliber of elders or even
Oh,
someone to search out online to get some bars from. They might get bars from I don't know, celebrities of the day, but it's not going to be as impactful as Felicia Rashad or Damon Wayans.
oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
I
They're going to
absolutely
get bars from
agree.
us.
I absolutely agree. I was just saying it's just my complaints about the generation is just the percentage
mm,
of innovators, the percentage of leaders, the percentage of conscious versus gangster rap, whatever, and just
mhm.
yeah, like I don't hear like Nas wrote Illmatic at 17. I'm like, I don't know like any young kid that's
Yeah.
writing poetry at that age right now. And like, I'm not saying like the same way, like celebrities don't have this certain kind of moral kind of desire to kind of be like, hey, I can change the world a little bit while I'm making money and being popular, whatever. That's just something that we grew
Mm.
up on. Those are some of those
Yeah.
things that don't exist now. And like it's just all for Delph.
Can we
It's
can
just
we say that? Is it true that it doesn't exist?
I don't mean what this is
No,
what
no,
I'm
no.
saying percent but no what I'm saying is
Yeah.
percentages.
Percentages.
The percentage
Okay.
it exists on a like much lower percentage now
Yeah.
Okay.
than it did a generation or two ago. I mean, it's not
Right.
gone. But it's
Right.
just
Right.
like such a lower percentage, and there's just so much more
Mhm.
information and so much more possibility and access. And these so many kids are aware of so much, but just disconnected from so many fundamental basics. That's why the internet itself, I remember when people were like, this is the information superhighway. We all have
Mhm.
like infinite knowledge at our fingertips.
Yeah.
That is not what it's being used for the most part, for the most
Mm.
part.
For
And
sure. For
I'm
sure.
not complaining, there's time for like jokes and memes and hilarious shit. It's amazing that we can like edit videos and make all this hilarious
Yeah.
shit. But the percentage of people using the internet to like teach and uplift and enlighten is much lower than the amount of people that are toxically like sharing dark porn and doing dirty shit and trolling and doing and spreading hate. Like, so there's so much.
Yeah. Well, it's so when we say that, because I was looking at this like study and was talking about how there is, I don't know, like I can't remember what it was, like say like 300 like billion like internet users or people on social media or something like that, but only I think like 100, I don't remember what the number was, but long story short, it was like a higher number of people who are on social media who are not creating, and the creators basically represent about like 4% of like people online. So that means, yeah, and I was like, really? I'm like, I thought everybody's kind of creating, but it's like, no, there's like the
Oh.
vast more people are just on social media, just doom scrolling, passing time, and whatnot.
And
You know
creating,
what I mean?
creating. I have to. I'm always conscious of creating. It takes a lot of eh, um, mental and physical energy and organization. And
For
like
sure.
over the past 3 weeks, I've created less. I've posted less. Like last week, we did a little push for the book, but
Yeah.
I posted less because I was busy with the book,
Mhm.
and then with I got sick, and then also just with also creating space to be offline. And
Mhm.
luckily, I'm like I was at peace with it because in my mind, the creator, I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
there's record school stuff I should be posting, but it's just not going to happen right now, just because it's
Mhm.
okay to to step back. Now also, I do it at a level where I don't do it professionally for my main check. So,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
numbers are not popping right now, but I'm
Right.
like, that's
Right.
okay, you know. But it's work.
Well,
That's healthy.
It's work.
it's
I quickly want to throw in this thing that I actually got to shout out Tona. I saw
Tona.
Tona.
mm,
What up, Tona?
Toast Tona posted this jewel that I'm like, oof, I really needed this. Tona
what do you
put
say?
on his page this jewel said, artists don't get burnt out by making art. Artists get burnt out when they're making content. And I was like, yo, that's real, man. That's so
Mm.
real. Like making rap,
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
our hip hop shit, that's never
yeah,
been a problem. But like
yeah,
Right.
when you think about, oh, I gotta like edit this and
Like the
produce
packaging
this,
of it, right?
yeah.
I gotta jump in. How do I like format this thing so I can get mass views and numbers? That fucks up everybody's
So
head, and that
yeah.
totally ruins the
Yeah.
process of whatever we're trying to create.
And
And that's
especially
very
the
not
timing
hip.
of it, because like it's Monday, right? A week ago, no, today's Tuesday. Uh, Basically when Kanye did that interview with academics, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it was it was a very interesting day in terms of juxtaposition for me because I was at a school doing some good, deep, educated work, especially with a black focus. And then I
Yeah.
came home and I saw this thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, my my blackness is being attacked right now. You know what I mean? So it's a juxtaposition. The thing is, but I also luckily told myself, well, my analysis, my point of view of this thing is going to come out later. You feel me? Because
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
everybody, boom, 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 you post that day. My thing still hasn't come out because I'm just
yeah,
not finished
exactly.
editing it. And I'm like, oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I find a little peace with that because less people will see it, but I can't kill myself trying to get things out that day, that moment.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you this, like when it comes for me, like creating, and I've been really, exploring more like on TikTok, and because it seems like it's a space
Big up your
for,
TikTok skills; they're
yeah,
wicked.
like for people who have like an interesting perspective or opinion. And what I like about it attracts just like, regular people on the ground that just, want to interact and whatnot. And for me, like when I'm, making stuff, a lot of it isn't like planned. I'm not sitting down with like a schedule and I'm like putting stuff together. It's literally I get a vibe and I tell myself I got like X amount of time to just bang this out. If it's, if there's, if it's not high quality, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like what I've learned, through that platform is just about being authentic. So that's why you'll see certain videos where people are just literally talking in their car,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like about an idea and it like blows up or whatever. So someone like yourself, it doesn't necessarily have to be like long editing and fancy transitions or whatever, which is cool. But for the most part, I think when it comes to us as artists, when we're feeling the moment, we can use social media as like a video like journal in a way. So Joe, for example, like you're like leaving a school and maybe there's like a reflection that comes to mind where you're just like, hey, you know what, this topic came up and it had me thinking about X, Y, and Z, and now I'm thinking about what could I do? And it's like, hey, what do you think I should do in this situation? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm,
and just
mhm,
open up
mhm,
that conversation. And
mhm,
to me, like
mhm.
that's art, right?
Yeah,
Because art
yeah,
is a tool for engaging. If you have people tapping in, liking it, and having conversations and being invited to your space, and then that's like what, to me, like that's the way how I approach like art. Like if I have to think too much about it, then I just don't do it. Straight up.
right.
Like it's just,
And I feel that I really do. And
yeah.
for me, again, I am at peace. So for like this Kanye thing I'm working on, it's an essay that is structured like a lecture because I'm
Okay.
still yeah I'm still kind of old school. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the current type of social media where you can bang stuff out, but I
Yeah.
I still want to write long pieces, and I still
For
want to
sure.
use that to propel myself into teaching in colleges, and
For sure.
universities.
For sure.
Like our sister Mia X from No Limit Records, who also teaches in colleges and universities. Big
That's
up, Mia,
peace.
right? Yeah, putting
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So I'm
I
putting
did
that
not
out.
know that, man. That's fire. That's
Yes,
fire.
yeah. So that's why I'm like, no, this is going to be a long thing because I
Okay.
wanna I wanna write it like a lecture.
Okay. So with that
yo,
being
yo,
said, well, just real quick, I'll say this. So you have your long lecture piece,
Yeah,
but then, there could be like certain like, sound bites within
right.
that could be used for like a TikTok short, just to kind of a
Mhm.
little splash. And then
Yeah,
if people want to do a deep dive and say, hey, look, this is just a little sample. Here's,
right. This is the main
the
piece.
full
Yeah,
story. Yeah.
right.
and Joe, remember that's one of the maxims in journalism. If you're not the first, then be the best. So it'd be like they're like, yo, there's the
I didn't know
people that
that.
like,
I didn't know
that's
that.
I
That's
always
wicked.
heard that. They're like, yo, man, there's the people that attack the topic right then. Then there's people like, yo, all right, give me 6 months and I'm gonna drop a bomb that like, yo,
Right.
that like
Yeah.
that is like the final statement on it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, people be like, this is worth
Appreciate
the
that.
time. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
take that
Yeah.
approach.
That's
I take that.
peace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
like
People are
Yeah.
that.
people are too caught up in. I'm like, yo, like De La Soul dropped that Oodles of O's video
Mm.
last year and they're like, yo, I was like, yo, this song came out in fucking 1989. The video just
Mm.
came in
Right.
2023.
See?
The song still is dope. And
Yeah.
like, yo, like what it's art. So like if the thought is timeless enough, I'm like, yo, especially these days
Sure.
where people are just don't have real like genuine think pieces. So like
Yeah.
drop a link,
That's
especially on Kanye. It's like
why,
don't there's so much
yeah.
reactionary stuff. I haven't even taken it in right now. I'm like, yo, man, like the same with
Yeah.
you, man. Like
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
gotta like do our best to just like not feed into the energy of that because
Mhm. Mhm.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of like the half of that is a toxic troll trap, and Kanye wants everybody to jump in right now and immediately like spend their whole day talking and typing about it, whatever. It's like, yo, we don't. I'm much rather talk about Dominic the DJ, the book. That's
Ooh,
much more.
that segue.
That's
That
no,
segue.
that's
That
that's
was
straight
sweet.
up.
Let's
That's
get into
straight
it,
up
That
man.
was
way
sweet.
bigger,
Yeah.
way bigger priority to me in hip
I
hop.
love it. Okay.
Carnation.
I'm
So
here.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
thank you for the interview. Do you want me to start? Do you have a
yeah,
question?
we did. No, man, Doc, you gotta. I actually, let me throw this in now, man. Like there is the jewel of this book like smashed me in my soul, and
Mm.
Mm,
ironically, I do DJ a bit, but I the parallel wasn't for like my like I'm a creator, so musically like I'm okay to just release whatever I feel. So like I didn't
right.
have the exact struggle that she had, but
Okay.
ironically, my struggle is creating social media content, and sometimes I overthink the way that she
Mm,
Yeah.
was overthinking. So then when I was reading the book, my parallel was like, oh shit, this is how I think when I'm like I have so many heartfelt things to say and so much wisdom, but I could be podcast. I'm like I could be a fucking massive YouTuber or whatever, but I'm like
Yeah.
I just won't offer it. Like I'm just not forcing myself to like follow the patterns of doing that, whatever. Like and just like I'm like, yo, what's Kai Cenat got that I don't fucking got? I'm like, yo,
oh,
all he does is just live
right.
on there. I'm like, I like my answer to the healthy thing is I go to community stuff, and I like I don't
Mhm.
have to have a camera on me the whole time where I go everywhere. I'm not
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
show
Yeah. Yeah.
So
students and I
logic, you're gonna
feel
appreciate that.
publicizing it.
I appreciate that too. I was gonna say, so my social media brain, then as we kind of as I share more insight and as we share more discussion about the book, Dominique the DJ, I know these portions, these next few minutes are going to be nice and clippable, which is pretty cool. And
Exactly.
Well,
as
thank
we
you.
are talking about my children's book, we're going to keep our language PG. Mindbender,
Absolutely, you got it.
Yes.
No, you got
Mindbender
it.
dropped three of them in 15 seconds.
No,
So,
you got it. No, we'll give
so
you
that's
That's
that's how we're framing this next piece. You know what I mean?
we'll give you.
100%.
So if you
100%.
Don't
wouldn't
have
mind
to.
repeating that,
No,
because that's really
no post
cool.
production needed.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mindbender, for sharing that. You said you had some of your own anxieties about your creation of your content and your music, similar to Dominique in the story.
That's exactly how I felt. I'm like I could be, I want to be. I want to be
Wow.
bigger. I mean, like I like it's just the way of the world. I like if you can't beat them, join them. Like there's other old
Mm,
school platforms that we used to go for. Like I still would like to have a record deal or be
Mhm.
sponsored by somebody, but we're like
mm,
if you don't have those things, if you're huge on the internet and have 100 million followers, you don't need any of the other old school platforms that
mhm.
we used to come up on. So like, but I'm
True.
not one of those kids who like follow the formula to do that. And I have the same fears about putting my wisdom in and love and passion out there the same way that your daughter did.
Mm.
So it
Well,
was a really good.
one thing I will say is don't forget one of the main themes in the book is the relationship, right? Even the cover, she's there, but look, she's got me behind her. She's got her people. She's got the people behind her. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
if we struggle with, and one lesson of the book is, we're going to struggle with different insecurities, living our best selves, breaking out of our comfort zone, and so Mindbender, I would encourage you to remember that you got people around you that you can share that will support you. You know what I
thank you,
mean?
fam.
Just
Absolutely.
like
Thank you.
just like
Right,
Dominique has
right.
me in the book, she has her mom, she has a sister. So that's one kind of theme, and it was cool. But again, I liked that's one of my favorite parts of the book is when we're sharing the thought bubble piece.
You
Let
want to
me
read a little bit of that right there?
I will. I just gotta find the page. Boom. So this is the page where it's funny because she's by herself, but we're communicating. We're having a dialogue, right? And it was cool.
Hmm.
I sketched this out on like the thought bubbles, right? So, Daddy, yes, Dominique, I'm scared. Can you play the music and I'll just watch you do it? I can't pick the right record. Dominique, it's okay to feel scared because DJing in front of people is a little scary. We're going to work as a team and do it together. And the next page,
Yes.
it says, Dominique, your feelings are important. I'm glad you told me how you feel. Are you mad, Daddy? No, Dominique. But I
So,
can. But can I ask you a question? Yes, Daddy. Can you think of something that makes you feel joy? And then
boom.
you know,
That's so wide. That's just wisdom. That's amazing.
and it doesn't come from me, because over the past 3 years, I've been thinking about joy on a
Mhm,
deep level, because of my work, as a learning coach,
mhm,
focused on a lot of Black content. So there's some theorists out there. One of them is called Dr. Goldie Muhammad, and she has
mhm.
this book called Cultivating Genius, and then her another book is called Unearthing Joy, and she describes
Ooh,
joy as young people feeling creative and being able to express themselves. So it's beyond happiness. It's kind of like your
you
fullest
know
self.
something? Yo, that's it, and yeah, because like joy and happiness were always words that I always felt different, but I like how you explain it, like
Yeah,
how
yeah,
joy
yeah,
is connected to like the creativity, right? Because there is when
yeah,
you're in
yeah.
joy, there's a certain kind of inspiration that comes. It's like
I
I
have the
can do
book right here.
anything, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
here's the book.
Yeah, joy
So
very
it's,
much.
so, so it's not just like it's not something frivolous. It's something kind of deep. Where's the book?
Yeah, joy really speaks to expression, while happiness can
Right.
kind of like speak to contentment.
Let
I
me
just got to quickly
let
say,
me, let me, let me go grab the book. You talk. Let me go grab the book because
I
it's
love how you.
basically this didn't just come from my head. This comes from
yeah, yeah.
learning and soaking up, getting a lot of game.
Right, but being intentional, and like that's how we got to do. We got to build from each other. We got to add on. That's to me like that's a cipher,
Yeah.
right?
Give me
So,
a second. I'm gonna
and
get the
yeah,
book.
yeah, for sure. And just to
I
add,
wrote.
I was gonna say just to add to the book, I like the fact that he had reflective questions at the end, for like parents to continue the conversations, with their kids and whatnot. So um I'm all about like educational resources and just things that can make it more like an intimate experience. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that was such a dope
This is
clip.
a book called Unearthing Joy by Goldie Muhammad, forwarded
yeah,
by Pharrell Williams. If you just look up any of Goldie Muhammad's stuff,
yeah.
she's really brilliant in her research that comes from, it starts in, what do you call it, Reconstruction, post-slavery, and how Black
Okay.
communities took it upon themselves to form literacy communities, right? And to educate themselves and to use their own stories, their own brilliance to
See?
push themselves forward, right? And there was joy in that. And so that's kind of just a little bit of kind of where she comes from. You can look up her stuff,
Mm.
but that influenced the writing,
I,
right? And I
I,
was intentional about using the word joy. And I even have a a reading guide at the back. Did
yo,
you see
I
that one?
yes, for sure. Like Joe is Logic was talking about that. I just gotta quickly say how much I loved. It really made me laugh, and how
Ooh.
pure and like coming off your line here. Can you think of something that makes you feel joy? When I read this next part, when she said, "Music brings me joy. I love practicing dance moves with Soraya and having dance parties. I do that at my
Yeah.
house. I dance around like crazy, crazy." So I'm like, I literally feel that.
Movement. We gotta
And
move,
then
man. We gotta
this
move.
yeah, this line made me burst out, dude. When you said
What?
Also making slime and painting with mommy, that's a lot of joy. Like when you talk about her love of slime, I'm like, that's such a childlike, joyful
Yes.
expression. And I
Yes.
was like, yo, that's hilarious. And like
Yeah.
you
Oh,
capture it really beautifully in the book. I'm like, yo,
oh, thank you. Where
like
is that at? It's
touching.
I wanted to include that because that's real. That happens at our
Yeah.
house. That's this page here, and I actually do not like slime at all.
That's
I'm not going to use the word hate, but I'm not for the slime at all. And it
that's not your
always
thing.
ends up in our house. There's always a
Facts.
new jar, and the crazy thing is they make it too.
I was
So I
gonna
have to
say that. Do
I
your
have
kids
to
make your own?
Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah.
wild.
respect I have to respect
Craft. You have to respect the
the craft
craft.
and the value
Yo,
of slime in my kids' play repertoire because it's a lot healthier than other things. And
Facts.
so
Yeah.
when they're making slime,
on
they
fire.
enjoy it, but I
Good
don't like the
vibes.
mess of slime. But there's even a Netflix show. It's a pretty good show. It's this, I don't know if she's 15. She's a host
Mhm.
of a little slime program, and I'm
Okay.
like, this is cool because they're mad creative and they're tactile and
Yeah.
everything like
Okay.
that.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
It's such a it's so
But it's the
pure and
joy, right?
innocent and childlike. Like it's such it
Yeah.
just
Oh, I
nails
appreciate that.
just like
And
brings it home.
just yeah, just to add to that, like it shows that how like joy is it's a personal thing. You know what I mean? Like so your joy be different from your daughters and different from
Yeah,
mine
yeah,
and so on and
yeah,
so forth. So
yeah,
we're
yeah.
allowed to own that,
But
like
Yeah,
and
and
to really stand
it's
on it. Mhm.
something to actually explore, and it's connected to anti-black racism in a way because things that give us joy. I'll go light like slime. That's going to build confidence, and that's going to make
Uh,
my daughters feel happy because of their interests. And it's just different ways to build people up. And actually, Goldie Muhammad has used she's used that in her research in terms of
mm,
literacy, but us
okay.
teaching each other how to read, teaching each other how to resist this type of systemic oppression. And she even has
Mm,
Pharrell tapping into that, and the three of us will understand how music plays a part in our joy and
yeah.
resistance. And Addie, I don't know if you caught a very intentional piece in the book. I had to make sure African spirituality is connected to the
Of
story as
course.
well. Did you peep our African drumming?
Of
Oh,
course,
I
man.
did see that.
Got that, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's what do you call it? What do you call it? Easter eggs? That's what they in
Oh,
Marvel.
Easter eggs.
There's
Yeah,
like Easter
yeah,
eggs.
yeah. Easter eggs.
There's an Easter egg in there. There's an extra Easter egg
Oh,
on page 13. There's an extra Easter egg for the heads.
oh, of course, yeah.
You
Of
got it?
course, I saw that.
You got
Boom,
that?
Okay.
bap,
You got the
boom,
Oh
boom
yeah,
bap.
yeah,
bap?
yeah,
I
bro.
saw that. I was like, oh yeah,
That's the boom bap. Yes,
oh
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Of course, I
And
saw
the
that.
root, and the next page is the root of the boom bap is the African drums,
Exactly.
Yes,
Bring it back.
right?
That's that same Kofa right there. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
facts, facts.
real
So
and come again.
yes, yeah. And then
Of
after
Love
the
course,
that. I love
African
that.
drums,
of
after the
course.
African drums come into our minds from what we hear, then Dominique's choice becomes clear. So it's like
Uh,
she gets power, you know what I mean? So some little Easter eggs there.
I love
And,
that, man.
and I'm gonna be
Yeah.
soliciting. I'm gonna be putting out um, asks for reviews. So everything that you said, Mindbender, if you do find some time to
Yeah.
type it up, and I'll send you a little request, we would appreciate
Mhm.
that.
No, I'll write it down
Um,
for you. Yeah, man, no doubt.
Yeah,
and no
definitely,
rush
definitely.
either. You take your time. Take time.
Yeah, some questions that
Easy.
a question that
I
comes to
like
mind that
rush.
I don't think we were able to ask when we were at the release was like what were some of like the challenges with coming, like I know like you said it took some time to like write and whatnot, but like what were some of the challenges, like were you like discouraged, it wasn't coming out the way you wanted it, like I'm curious to know like about
Oh, thank
some of
you.
the other side, the other side.
How real do you want me to keep it?
I will keep you 100. I mean, we'll say this: like you completed it. I mean, it's released, so
Yeah.
you whatever it was, you worked through that. But I think it's
Okay.
also
Okay.
important for us
Okay.
creatives, and I think it's on brand with like the story of the book as well. You know what I mean? So maybe there was
Oh,
some
I didn't think about
insecurities or challenges and whatnot, right?
that.
And then
The
whatever you did, like and then for whatever reason, you stuck with it and found a way to complete and
yeah.
to give birth in a way, right? So yeah.
Okay. One of the biggest challenges was for me having to figure out how not to beat myself up and compare myself to other creative people and other people
Mhm,
who are in my circle, even in Toronto, Canada, and stuff like that, who have written children books. And I
mhm.
say, wow, look how amazing their product is. Look how amazing their book is. Their book has come out on Penguin Publishing. How do I get on that level? I'm not
Right,
even
right.
as good as those people. So
Yeah.
one challenge I had internally was in my head is just to persevere through like self-doubt and this thing I have of comparing myself to other people. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So that's an internal one. That's like, yeah. So along the way, because there's a lot of brilliant people I admire. So when I show like other books that I studied, like where's that? Like Goldie Muhammad or different people. There's other writers out there that are farther along in their journey, right? And so sometimes I
Mhm.
compare myself to them, and I'm like, I get discouraged, right? So that's
Yeah.
one challenge. That's one challenge, and luckily I do have the wisdom. So big up, the creator for letting me be in my 40s. I have the wisdom to just keep moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Got you.
I have good
Yep, yep,
people
yep.
around me, but that was one challenge. Another
Mhm.
challenge is financial because
Mm.
you can publish books um, through companies where if you pay them a couple grand, they'll they'll do it all for you. But that wasn't my position. And
Fees of a
so
couple grand?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
They will hook you up with
Right.
an illustrator. They'll hook you up with the packaging. They'll do
Mm,
it all for you. You know, they'll do the back end stuff where the book will be in Amazon and blah 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 blah. So
gotcha.
it's like so you can get published because if you submit a demo or if you submit a manuscript and Penguin says, I like that, we're gonna put you on
Right.
our roster and your
Right.
product might come out 2 years from now when the next calendar is ready.
Right.
Or you can
Mm,
go to a company and say, "Hey, we do it for you, no problem. This is the fee," and that's another business model of this thing, right?
okay.
So,
Got you.
so a challenge was how much of my family income am I going to put towards this project? You know what I mean? Bills have to be
That's
Mm,
good.
paid, right?
Yeah, that's like a
So
third child.
yes, yeah, yeah. So that took
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That took time, and then
Okay.
I realized, no, I'm not going to do it that way because that seems not a scam, but that's a business model and it's not for me. But
Yeah.
other people have done it, and it's like, oh man, their book is out. So that was a challenge. Figuring out how to navigate this process because it's now in the business stage. So, for example, the book is out. So now Adrian and I have to. Some of the next steps are uploading it to KDP, which is called a Kindle something something. That's a
Hmm.
file, so it's going to be
Yeah.
ready for Amazon and stuff. And then also financing more physical copies,
Hmm.
which is, I mean, that's a challenge. That's a good challenge. That's just like now
Yeah.
we're and the way I frame it for myself is it's a journey. You know, I like to
Mm,
I like to reference, Percy Miller, Master P. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
It's a
yeah.
journey,
do
and then the writing challenge wasn't that hard, thank God. I'm full of ideas.
Hmm.
Um, maybe time management because
Okay.
balancing out projects like this with my family responsibilities. Because as a grown up, as a father, as a husband, I don't have to write a book because
Yeah.
we have every other priority, you know what I'm saying? So this is time away, you know what I mean?
Right.
From like
Understood.
every other thing, right? So I don't know if that's yeah,
Yeah.
those are
No. No.
That's
probably
That.
real.
That's
That's real.
that's
Yo,
real.
thanks for sharing that. I want to
mm,
quickly, I'm so glad you said that. I really want to quickly share this story. One of the greatest hip hop lessons I ever had came from the ice cream man. I was,
oh,
you know
from
me,
me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I just want to really throw. I'm so glad that you said that you were inspired by Master P, because
Mm.
I was, I have all the source magazines that I could ever imagine. I collect. Actually,
We
more
gotta
so like
talk about that. You gotta let some of those go, please.
Oh man, he's
yeah,
he has
yeah,
to
yeah, with
archive.
you, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's true. I have some doubles I can share with you. But yo, so I have like them all rap pages, source, double XL, whatever. And I remember in grade 9 having every issue of the source and reading month after month after month, seeing the ugliest, the ugliest ad in the entire magazine with the worst graphic design, rappers I had never heard of,
These are
from a
subjective.
place I'd never heard of.
Worst.
But I'm just like, all
We
I'm
got pen
seeing
and pixel designs.
pen and pixel design, and I'm seeing the ice cream man, Master P. And I was like, yo, I said in grade 9, I was like, this guy refuses to give up. And I said, I remember I was a young
Mm,
kid. I didn't even have this
mm.
much wisdom,
Right.
but I
That's yeah,
remember saying, I'm like, this guy is either gonna fall off or become a super big businessman. I
yeah.
just saw that
Mhm,
from
mhm,
the power
mhm.
of Master
Yeah,
P's
yeah.
ads, just the way.
And
And I
it's
was
also yeah,
like,
and it's also
that.
despite refuses to give up despite being ridiculed or despite
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo,
Yeah.
you being at the bottom of the I don't know, the pecking order, which is kind of
Yeah.
what I think about because like I'll keep it 100% real. Like Addie and I's good friend Rodrigo, big up to Rodrigo, the founder of Pound Magazine, right? And
Mhm.
now you see, and we're all doing our thing. We're all on our journey. We're all blessed to be on our journey. But
Mm.
okay, so Rodrigo also was blessed enough to put out the what do you call it? Hip Hop Legacy documentary. What's it called? Hip
Right.
Rap? What's it called?
Hip hop
what, Hip Hop
evolution.
Evolution?
Hip Hop
What?
Evolution
Yeah. Yeah. With
on
Yeah, yeah,
Shaz.
yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Hip
Yeah.
Hop Evolution.
Incredible. I
Yeah.
would say the best hip hop documentary series out there. And
What
so
For
I'm like,
about?
sure.
yo, look at my boy. He did this amazing thing. What have I done? You feel me? And
Mm.
so part of me, I'll have this internal monologue like, damn, I'm not on that level. But
Mm,
so that's a challenge that mentally I I find myself going through. But luckily, I also have another monologue that says, "Nah, man, just keep pushing." And here
it's
we are.
peace.
That's
Okay,
real,
okay,
yo.
that's what's up.
We all on our own paths, yo, and all of them are important. And we're
And I
all
think
each.
that comes with wisdom for me, though. That's
Mhm.
why I put
Yep,
it out there at the beginning of my check-in. Like, I've known y'all for over a decade and a half.
mm,
So it helps you just understand that, things come when they come and you just keep pushing. And certain times we have insecurities, and that's all they are. But like
for
going back
sure.
to the younger people, the younger generation living in this age, I hate to would be I would hate to be in that headspace.
Yeah,
Because
where you're like you're sad because your like book launch didn't have 50,000 Instagram likes.
Yeah.
it's
Yo, that's a real
a real
response,
thing,
man,
man.
for a lot of people. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yo, I got a physical copy, man. Yo, like
Mhm.
it brought tears to my eyes and like smile
Ah,
to my like, yo,
thank
you
you.
Yeah.
did it, man. Yo, like fuck, yo, man. Illmatic sold 40,000 records the first week it came out, man. Like this first week number shit is so whack, man. These
Mm,
motherfuckers,
mm,
like
Yeah.
Bob Marley, Jimi
Well,
Hendrix, like numbers ain't shit, man. These like real legends don't like measure it by numbers.
mhm, mhm.
that's it, man. And like, yo, you have your book now, and you just got, like you said, like Master P, man. You got to be running those. Like, to me, like books are the new CDs now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
that's how I'm looking at it
Okay.
now, man. That hand to hand, man. Like, hey,
Yeah.
it don't stop, you know.
No, we're very
And
excited,
plus,
man. This book is going to be in record stores. It's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool, the possibilities. So one thing we're going to send it to some of our most influential DJs, like Jazzy Jeff, like Scratch Bastard, Mel Boogie. All my DJ heroes are going to have a copy of it. And the
yeah,
same way Mindbender is giving feedback, they're going to give feedback as well. So I'm using this to really um deepen my connections with some of my DJ heroes, because this is the first children's book that celebrates DJing from a multitude of generations, that's rooted in joy and hip hop. It's a revolutionary thing, so I'm excited.
I quickly
that's
have
it,
to
man.
say this immediately. The universe is so aligned. Joe, I went to your event on Saturday.
Mm,
Sunday, I
mm,
watched the new episode of The Simpsons. Right now, it's like season 36, episode
okay.
number 12, I think.
Wow. Okay.
The episode is based on Homer Simpson passing down his record collection to Bart, and Bart is DJing on the show. They are. I am not even
What?
joking. You guys, I
What?
was
I've
like,
never seen that, man.
I didn't
Are
think
you
that we could get
serious?
clips for
Who
the
wrote
show.
that episode?
I am so
Get out of my
hapless.
head.
Like there's
Oh,
usually
that's
two stories.
powerful.
There's two
Oh, wow.
stories. The first story is about Bart becoming a DJ, and they're literally like mixing records as much as they could. Like he's cutting, and like they're
Uh-huh.
literally
Uh-huh.
like that's. I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but like that's
Okay.
part of the Simpsons story. It's so dope. I was like,
You
this
know
is
what's
crazy.
crazy? That's actually another challenge of mine, because Dominique, thank God, is open to learn a lot of new things from me, whether it's
Mm,
slime to DJing. And so I am not the best teacher of DJing for her. And the reason is that means we got to go downstairs in the studio, which is kind of cold, and we're going to have to sit down and do it.
yeah,
Whereas, like, so what I'm good at with Dominique is I'll take her to a gig with me, I'll put the records in her hand, and I'll kind of guide her through it. And
for
that's how
sure.
we rock.
That's it.
But as far as like sitting down and getting two instrumentals and matching BPMs, I'm a little nervous about that, because that's a little bit of a different thing. So I'm gonna take it one step at a time, because she's
That's
like, I
all it
want you to
is,
teach
man.
me. But we haven't sat down. I'm more teacher to DJ out in the world on the road. You know, there's a crowd, go ahead. But her and me
Yeah,
one on one, we actually
yeah.
haven't done that much. So that's gonna be, and that also takes time. I have to sacrifice. I have to kind of create time to do that. So it takes a little sacrifice for me as
Yeah,
well,
yeah, true
you know.
indeed. True indeed.
So you'll see, but one step at a time.
Yo,
Okay.
man, keep going, yo. It's a
Wonderful,
beautiful
man.
journey to see. And shout out
Appreciate
to
you.
Dominique,
Appreciate you.
yo. Yo,
Appreciate you. And all the dads. Shout out to all the dads, the moms, the
That's
uncles,
it,
the
man.
aunties, the village, right? Raising these
One,
youths.
two.
no doubt,
One,
no doubt.
two, man. Well,
Mm.
as we're coming to the end of our program, my man, I know you mentioned earlier about Nas and something about
Yes.
Seven Legends. I don't know if you want to
Yo,
tap
yo,
into
yo,
that.
Yo, there's a little bit of news, and we normally just be doing the news with each other, but there's a
Mm.
bit of news
Okay.
I would love your both of your opinions on. So
Can't wait.
apparently today, did you see Nas released on his Instagram? He said something called Legend Has It, and it says 7 albums by 7 icons. And then it's the caption is history is not finished being written or something like that. So
Mm.
Nas is about to drop 7 albums with 7 icons, kind of thing. Like, I don't know what do
Stop.
y'all think? It's on his thing. Like
How much
it's
diamonds does Nas have in his spirit?
I don't think
He
it's
just
I don't but this is what I'm saying. I don't think it's Nas. I think Nas
Mm,
is I think
okay, he's promoting some stuff.
he's I think he's promoting 7 other legends. Like
That could be under
it says
mass
Mass
appeal.
Appeal Records.
Nice. I
So
love it. I love the okay, my take on that is I might not like all the songs, because I'm particular with rappers, even old and new,
Mm.
right? So yesterday I was listening to a really good interview by Cormega. And I love listening to Cormega interviews because he's so deep. But I don't listen to all his music, whatever.
Yeah,
But what I do love is I love when people put out music.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
want
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
to
yeah,
put it
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm like, Lauren Hill, she decided not to put out too much music, and I'm like, ooh, I wish. So anyone that's putting out music, salute.
True
that's real.
indeed.
That
True
is so
indeed.
real. That's so
Yeah,
real.
yeah, just keep putting it out.
That's so real.
So, I mean, that's cool.
You are right about
Word,
that.
man.
People sit on too much gold, yo.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah.
absolutely right.
Just put it out. So that's dope. Yeah, put out your music. I'm all for
So
it.
yeah, man. Like Cormega is a good suggestion. The reason I'm thinking, do you remember when Nas did those Where Are They Now songs?
Yes, yes,
Those
yes.
crew
Yeah,
tracks with
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah,
those.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like that might be like some kind of continuation of that idea. Because like Nas, like nobody had ever done that. People don't give Nas enough
Mm.
credit for that. Like it was like 20 rappers from the 80s who
I
hadn't
also
been
think
heard.
there's a kind of a sad lesson to this because I was having a conversation
Mm.
with this really smart 20-year-old. I was like, yo, what kind of rap you like? And he's like, not a whole lot of new stuff. He likes Afro beats, him and his crew. I'm like, okay. And I think the generation of young people now are not producing rappers that are making a big impact versus the generation of us where the rappers are still so committed, they're still rapping. I mean, Will Smith's got a new album out. LL Cool
Facts.
J
Hello,
put an album out last year, right?
Nas,
I saw a new verse by Ghostface.
mm,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, I think,
Prominent P Rock Volume 2 coming.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Obviously, it's in their spirit, but it's interesting because I think Dominique's generation, I think rap is going to look real different, which is fine because
Agreed.
that's just the
Yeah,
way life
yeah.
is. What you logic? You're meditating.
Yeah, no, no. Like it's you know, like I think like hip hop will will always represent like the voice of the youth. And
Yeah,
in the midst of like the confusion, I feel like there's always going to be, and you might have to look for it, but there's always going
mm,
to be those who are going to carry that revolutionary
yeah,
spirit and energy and feel the need to use this vehicle of hip hop as a way to convey messages and whatnot. So I'm not really worried about that. But yeah, you're
yeah.
right though. Things will evolve and it will go to where it needs to go because it will reflect the times and the mindsets of the young.
Hmm.
Um, so it should be interesting. But like I said, like there's always, yeah, it's like quoting Mr. Rogers. He had this one quote where saying like, like his mother would tell him that to always look for the helpers. There's
Oh,
always going to be people who are adding on. We may just have to like look far
yeah,
in between to find them, but they're there.
mm,
Like people like us, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
we just
yeah,
have a certain calling within us that we have to add on,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
might think we're just making like little small ripples, man, but those turn into tidal waves. You know what I'm saying? You'd be surprised on
Mm,
how far they go, right? So
mm, mm.
um yeah, but
That's
like even just seeing how hip hop has evolved to where it's at now, like the commercial success and whatnot, these are things we never we only dreamed of, and now it's like a complete, giant beast where it's like the number one, genre, most influential and whatnot. So, it's
I'm
still
looking up
evolving.
this Nas thing now so I can be informed. I don't want
Yeah.
to be on a
Yeah.
podcast and not know what's going on.
Yeah, no, take it in. It's only like a little like 30-second
7 new
appetizer.
albums.
Yeah,
Ooh, that gives us a lot to think about. I like that.
7 new
Makes me
albums.
think about. Makes me think about. Now, I know time is a factor, but we
No, it's
are
not.
okay. We are
We're,
a
we're
couple
good.
months removed from GNX. Dominique really is a big Kendrick fan
Right.
now. She's been talking about turn his TV off, which is a whole other thing. It's based on her mother.
Yo,
Her mother dislike for Drake, so like pushing Kendrick on the kids, and Dominique loves music, so she's anyway. So it's like but she's like, all I ever want is a new Grand National. But I say that to say, like, now that Kendrick's album is in the world for a little while,
yeah.
I still don't like it compared to his other albums. But what are y'all?
I feel the same. I said the same thing. I said the Kendrick version, the Damn version of Kendrick was my kind
My
of like
favorite.
my
Oh my
favorite
god.
version of Kendrick, and I don't like the Kendrick style of rapping, and I don't like his like pop up for like do some weird shit and then disappear for 6 months. I don't like the Kendrick of the last 2 or 3 years. I'm not really a fan. I'm really not, and like I respect his artistry and
Mhm,
like he's
Yeah.
doing him, but I don't like this version of him,
mhm, mhm.
and I'm
Interesting.
not going to say too much about it, but I'm happy for people who do like it, and like whatever. It's hip hop, so I let it
Yeah,
run.
no, no, definitely. I'll definitely add on. Yeah, the album was interesting. I feel like it's more like localized. Like if I was from like Oakland or LA or something like that, I probably have
Yeah.
more of like a connection to it. So certain songs, I'm like, okay, this is kind of that hyphy kind of vibe. I can see some, crumping kind of or
Mhm,
whatever
mhm.
dancing to this. It's not really my thing. The songs that stood out to me that I've, played several times would be Man in the Garden. Like that's definitely like
That's
my
I Want It
record.
All, right?
Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That was
That
playing in
one.
the
And
car the other
then
day. Mike,
I like that. Like, because I mean, those types of like reflective lyrics, like I'm always
Mhm.
a sucker for that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
any artist who like makes that type of music that like makes you want to like look out the window and start thinking about life, you know what I'm saying? I'm all about that. Like like I'm
Yeah.
that's my jam.
Right. Right.
And then
Right.
the second record was Reincarnation, because I like conceptual songs and that are, Reincarnation where oh, you never, yeah. Well, he uses that
The,
Tupac made men instrumental.
That's right. Shout out to my boy Ryan. He was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
he just yeah, yeah, yeah."
yeah. I
I don't know
always
what
love that
you're
instrumental too. So when I heard that beat, I was like, yo, that's like one of my favorite like Tupac beats like ever. It was a song that I
okay.
heard like that came out like after he died because it was on the what I think it was like the Gridlock or
That's gang related.
that's what it was. It was the gang related soundtrack. That's what
Yeah,
it was,
Ryan.
not
That's
Gridlock.
Ryan right there. He's like, "Yo, it's on
Right.
gang
There,
related." Okay.
right. And I heard that. So that's from like the late like 90s and whatnot. And that was
Mm.
after he passed, and that came out. And I was like, whoa, like he's making music. But so when I heard the instrumental, I was like, okay, you better like do some justice on it. And because it's like a conceptual like song, about being reincarnated and having different lives and different periods of time, and then
I'm
kind
gonna
of,
listen to it
you
again tonight.
know, and then kind of like going through this like self, like this Ubuntu kind of vibe,
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah,
like
yeah.
these, life iterations are bringing him closer to his higher self, and then the last verse where he's like talking to God and having like this reflection about making enemies and I'm not going to give it away, but you just got to
Okay,
take it in.
okay.
So
I'll listen
those
to it
two
again
songs
because I like
out of
Kendrick's
all out
mind,
of
obviously, right?
yeah, yeah, and then just that to my mother's point that what he doesn't like about Kendrick, him, he just kind of pops out, does this thing, and then disappears. I kind of like that, what I mean, because of me as I'm like I'm more like introverted at times, and then extroverted. So I see Kendrick as kind of like that. And the reason why I say that is because I saw this interview of one of Kendrick's like past like teachers, you know, like who like taught him in like elementary school and whatnot.
Oh
And
wow.
and I guess like Kendrick Lamar like shouted him out on a song or whatever. So someone like mentioned him and he's like, yeah, Kenny shouted you out. And he's like, Kenny who? Like whatever. And it's like Kendrick Lamar. And he didn't even make the connection that that was his
Yeah,
student who's now
right.
this big time artist because when he was teaching him, he was like Kenny, like the quiet kid kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like the kid who's
Mm,
always just quiet. And you know, when I heard that, I'm like, you know what? The Kendrick Lamar's his whole approach makes a lot more sense now
mhm.
because like when you're like introverted, you're like the observer. You know what I'm saying? Like you're
Yeah,
not the extroverted who's always talking and taking up space. When you're an observer, when you're introverted, like you're seeing the spaces in between things that most people
yeah,
don't get. And that's what Kendrick Lamar, like, you know, when you look at his craft, like he's all about that. He just comes through, just does his and then disappears. And then people are like up in arms, like having all kinds of theories and breaking down things. And he's probably just like, you know, like playing slime with his kids. You know what I'm saying? Like so I kind of I like that mystique about him, you know what I mean? That he
mhm,
doesn't do
mhm.
interviews
Yeah,
much, you know, when he
yeah,
does,
yeah, yeah,
it's intentional, it's on
yeah.
point, and then he's gone. You
Mhm.
know, I kind of like that, you know, it's
Yeah,
you
no, I
know, like we
respect
need
that.
some of that. Yeah, so anyways, that's just my perspective on that. Yeah.
He can't claim the number one spot in rap if he operates like that, in my opinion.
My
Can't
man
you
is not
can't
letting it
say you're the
go.
you can't say you're the top dog if that's how you fight. To me, you gotta brawl more than that. You gotta have a different
Yeah.
style of fight. But
Well,
I
okay.
hear
I
you.
mean,
I hear you. But yeah,
the
Joe, what were you
last
gonna
point
say?
You know
I'll
what's funny?
say
I
that.
don't. I don't think. I don't even. I don't. I don't really buy Kendrick's desire to be number one. I don't think he's really about that. I think he's about being a sick rapper, but claiming the
Yeah.
number one spot because a couple weeks ago I revisit the Control song, the Kendrick's verse. I
First,
love
yeah,
I love
yeah, yeah.
Jay Electronica is like my
Electronica
favorite
Bichon,
rapper
yeah.
too, right? And I'm like, I think Kendrick's more interested in just like having balance in his life, being a dope MC. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
he you know he's a spitter when he wants to spit, but he doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
always want to spit. Sometimes he wants to just rap with Baby Keem or do Mr. Morale. So when he says
Yeah.
I'm the top spot, I think sometimes he's in that mood, in that
Yeah.
space in his head. But I don't think that's
Feel
I don't
that.
think he's like mad competitive with other
Yeah.
dudes.
Yeah, no,
Anyway,
it's just that competitive nature, you know, like when you're a rapper and you know, yeah, yeah, like you know when you're in that space, like you know, you
mhm,
gotta take on that ego and you know just like let it all out. You know what I'm saying? Like however comes out creatively,
yeah.
you know. So, but hey, man, you know, you know we'll see what's going. But I mean,
Hey,
well, just
hold
to
on, hold on. Last little drop about that. Kendrick Lamar has sold out his Toronto concert that is coming up on June 13th.
So
yep,
Roger, hook
yep.
me up with some free tickets, please, because I know you got the plug. I know you're connected.
Yo, like, it's
You and
happening
Dominique want to
at
reach.
the Sky Dome, man. It's happening at the Sky Dome. You know what I mean? So that's like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it
This
is.
is this is
It
not
is. It is not happening at history.
no 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 no
It's
no.
not happening at history at
Yo,
all.
Mindbender, are you gonna be front row? Are you gonna be front row, Mindbender?
Hell no, no. I've
What?
seen. I've seen. No, I've
Why
seen
you
Kendrick.
let's speak it
I've
into existence? Talking
I've
about.
seen Kendrick 3 or 4 times. I saw Kendrick open for Kanye when Kanye was did the Yeezus tour. I've seen
I was
Kendrick
there.
at
Kendrick,
Sound
and
Academy.
we
Yeah,
were
no,
late. Me and my wife were late for the users.
Kendrick opened for Kanye. I've seen that. And like, yeah, it
Yeah,
was a pretty big show. And it was before Kanye fucking like jumped the shark and became the fucking
Yeah, the users was so cool.
yeah,
That was a good concert.
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
was
That was a
he's
good
like that
concert.
was like one of the last great Kanye
Yeah.
tours.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah,
I've seen Kendrick 3 or 4 times. I saw him at Sound Academy. So like, yeah, no, I don't need to see him again. And like I don't like this era of
This
Kendrick.
person, you don't want to see turn his TV off. Hey now, hey
Yeah,
now.
not at all. Oh my god, I'm so when people talk about people are saying that Not Like Us is the biggest diss song of all time. I'm like, you motherfuckers don't know rap history. This is
yeah,
ridiculous. Like this internet era, the internet
yeah,
era and memes and such, meme culture in the
yeah,
modern era has blown up the song in a big way. Yes. Okay, it
yeah,
won a Grammy.
yeah.
Yes. You want to put that song above fucking like Ether and Takeover and Hit 'em Up and like No Vaseline and Criminal Minded and are you fuck and like The Bitch and You? Are you crazy? No, no. No fucking way.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what,
it's funny. We go back to time. I think I dropped a serious bar when I got in here because I think it's time because you have the awareness of the timeline of the diss track,
this is what I'm
where
saying. It's
Right.
like,
some people's awareness is
Exactly.
only the past 5 years versus the past
Exactly.
50
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. That's true.
You know what I mean?
like
They don't know
I'm like
what all time
even
is.
Wankster and like yo like Piggy Bank. Are you kidding?
Wankster was
Like
Yeah.
no,
crazy.
like nah, man. Like nah, I
Yeah.
can't. I'm not giving that to Kendrick. Nah, stop.
Yeah.
It was
Well, I
cute.
mean,
It was
it's
cute. It
different.
was cute.
It's just the
I'll
different
say top
times. You know
two.
what I mean? And different times, and again, like the viral moments of that, and it's it evolved into a whole different kind of beast.
Can I? Oh man, and I know this is funny. We're in a loop here. I know men's have to go live their
All
lives,
good.
but
Nah,
there's
it's all
All
one
good.
good.
thing
It's
that's
all good,
interesting
brother.
about Drizzy. Uh, he's done it again because after he got batted up by Pusha, so
Yeah.
disrespectful.
Yeah,
You
that
didn't
was
even
his
mention
biggest
Yeah.
sell.
Eddie.
His
That
biggest
You
sell.
didn't even
His
mention that diss track.
that hurt.
yeah, of
Yo,
course,
that number.
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
That
I
You
can't
yo,
know,
that
even.
song
that's
hurt
I don't
my
like
feelings
thinking
too.
about. I don't like thinking about my reaction when I first heard Adi Dada. I had to stop. I had to close the door. I said, "Oh my gosh!" But
That
remember
hurt
what
my
happened
feelings, man.
afterwards is he came back with the movement from not like in my feelings, and
Right.
the summer was lit from in my feelings. Remember the
Yeah,
videos,
yeah, yeah,
and he just created that song. Just made so many people so excited and so happy, and then he
yeah,
just
yeah,
was riding. He's done it again because
yeah,
Not Like Us has run its course, and
yeah,
now who's telling about Nokia is
Nokia.
also
yeah,
moving it. I'm like,
Nokia's
this
doing
guy's
well.
crazy. He's dropped another
yeah.
super fun track that's made people just so excited and having fun. I'm like, that's crazy. He's done it
Well,
twice in terms of creating fun movements after he's been dissed to like shift the energy.
well, I'll say this, like, and that's something I've always given, Drizzy Drake credit for
Shout
is
out to the
that
boy. Shout out to the
it's
boy.
like he's always been able to like pivot and maneuver. Like a lot of people forget that's from the beginning of his career, like he's been battling, you know what I mean? Like from like
Yeah.
local cats, like, remember
Mm,
the days of like offense and Big Page and so on and so forth
yeah.
and all that. And what I mean? Like he's always been,
Wasn't he
been
down with
able
Big
to.
Page? That's the first hook.
They
I'm
were,
so
they
Yeah, and then
were,
they
they
fell
were,
apart.
uh-huh.
and then
And
it
then
became,
Still
Keith
Fly
Ring got
and
involved, and it became a whole thing. And throughout his career, he's always, had
Yeah.
these, potential interruptions of his flow.
Mm.
And I've always said that he works best under pressure. Like when he's like the underdog and people are
you do say that.
That's a
not
problem.
believing in
Yeah.
him, that's when he's
Yeah.
just like, ooh, I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all. You know what I'm
Done it
saying?
again.
So
He's done it
so
again.
for sure, for sure. You know what I mean?
This
Like
Nokia
he
thing is
understands the
great.
formula. He knows the formula. He knows
Yeah,
how to pivot. One thing I'll say about the have you seen the music video
I
for
have.
Nokia?
Yeah.
One thing I mean it was dope, and I like, how it's kind of utilizing, some of like Kendrick's, vibes and, kind of
Yeah.
like, adding on. I mean you kind of got to do that, in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
association, but kind of
Yeah.
like alchemizing
Yeah.
the energy. My only critique to that is like, with all the images of like Caravana and whatnot, and other Toronto like references,
Mhm.
like I wish he did that a lot. Like I wish he did that earlier,
Me
in
too.
his career.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? It's a little
Me too.
like it's a little late. It's like now
Me
you want
too.
to give like the Toronto centric. We should have been doing that. We
Yeah,
should
I
have
agree.
been doing
I
and
agree.
that probably then this whole like not like us kind of energy wouldn't even have gone that far, because it's like he's been introducing the intercomplexities of Toronto Black existence
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
America, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because otherwise he was just kind of catering to the American audience and even
Yeah.
using their slang and language.
Mhm,
And we're like,
mhm.
yo, like Toronto, like we, what I'm saying? So
But
that's my
don't
only critique
forget,
to that.
I mean, starting from the bottom video, the headlines video,
For
we can
sure,
go
for
Yeah.
down
sure,
and
for sure.
see the Toronto iconography. But there should be more. There should be more.
I'm talking specifically
Goes
because
to
when I look at
Caravana.
like Caravana in
Yeah.
particular, like we're talking about like the
Yeah.
black essence, like the
Yeah. Yeah.
Caribbean
Yeah. Yeah.
black identity,
Yeah. Yeah.
like without denying it. It's like
Mhm.
that is clearly a
Yeah.
Caravana reference. So with
Yes. Yeah.
in
This
other
is
words, that is a
Caravana
black
Fusions, I
reference.
think it's
That's a
called.
black reference. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where there's no questioning, so that's my only critique. Like that should have been done like maybe 5 years ago, and then things would have
Hmm.
been. But anyways, it is what it is.
I agree. It is what it is. Shout out to everybody that was involved, all those dancers and
Yeah, no, no, for sure, for sure.
in the T dot. region.
Yeah, that's it. We just need more of that. Like, I think, to go back to when we're talking about the direction of hip hop and whatnot, we need more of that. You know what I mean? Like our stories being shown and authentic, identities and all those things, that of what we
Yeah.
are. You know what I'm saying?
We
We just
need
gotta
we
bring it
need
to the
more of
forefront.
my former student Smiley in Drake videos. You come to when next
Smiley,
time y'all
Smiley's
come
your
to my
former.
household. Next time y'all come to my household, one of our inner jokes is my wife's like, "Yo, they don't care about Smiley as much as you do," and I'm like, "You might be right, but he's my young
Yo,
dude. I want
tell
to see
me,
him grow."
that's pretty exclusive that he was like one of your students. What kind of
Yes,
student was he? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how
he
did
was
you connect with him?
exactly
What
the
was
same. He was a
he's just
troublemaker, and he was rapping. He was
okay?
100%. That's the fascinating part. He was 100%. Uh,
That was him.
every
That was him.
100%. He was and the thing about him, he was incredible with branding. He's from Pelham Gardens, and he used to rep this group called
Okay.
Garden Gang, and he would have hoodies that says Garden Gang, big thick hoodies,
Okay.
repping his crew, and so that was pretty interesting to see, and that
Okay.
was connected to the trap and that kind of thing. And he was a troublemaker because there was a school that had a lot of troubled kids,
Okay.
so he didn't last long, but he rapped because
Okay.
I had a studio and I had a music production class. He'd be like, "Yo, brother, let me rap, let me freestyle." So he used to freestyle at lunch because he
Okay.
wasn't actually in my class because it would have been too much problems. But he used
Oh
to
no.
come in and par with the kids and then also freestyle at lunch, you know. And then he didn't last long. But the thing is, I used to still see him on the road. And one time was cool because he grew his hair out and he was thinking about coming back to school. This is when he was probably like 19 or 20. So we still had that
Okay.
relationship. And the cool thing is also there was other kids that rapped, but after he left the next year, we used to watch his YouTube videos, and he was the only one out of all the kids in that community that kept at it. Everyone else was kind
Hey,
of like posers. One kid was like,
whatever.
"Yo,
Yeah.
I'm going to be on the OVO stage." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Bust a rhyme." He'd be like, "This other
Yeah.
kid, I'm gonna wait till I'm on OVO to bust a rhyme." Okay, fine. But he was the only one out of those kids that was consistent. And it was
Wow.
kind of
That's what's
funny
up.
because he's kind of funny sometimes, but we'd be like, "Yo," and even other kids used to rhyme. And I'm like, "Man, they sound like Smiley," and so
Okay.
that's the thing that I think is the best thing about him is that he just kept at it, which is
Okay.
which is incredible. I think
That's
so.
what's up, man. And being authentic, like you said, like
Hundred
that's
percent.
his energy. That's
So
who he
you
was,
you see me waving the flag all the time.
That's what's up, man.
Mm,
That's peace, man.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
All right, man.
Well,
So I
and
guess,
the
yeah,
next
man.
generations.
And that's even a big topic too, man. Just to add to that, like I remember, when I was a youth worker in Chester Lee, some of those, artists who were, I mean, things have kind of slowed down now though, but if you go back like at least like 5 years, some of the artists like, like 3M French and Pangs, what I mean, like these were like, youth that would come by the center
Yeah,
and hang out in programs and whatnot and, get bus tickets and, and things of that nature,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? But to see them evolve into, their craft and to become extremely popular,
Mm,
it is definitely something to see for sure.
mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Bring it
All
back
right, man.
to
So
the book. Bring it back to the book because it's
yes,
we on
let
that
people
Wu
know
Tang
where
shit
they can
all the
get that,
time.
man. Where
Okay, okay, cool. Yeah,
For
yeah.
the
So
children, for the children.
if you want to reach out to me or get a copy of the book, you can go to my website, recordschool.com. That's
jeez.
recordskool.com, as well as my Instagram. What we're doing now is we are uploading the files so that it's available digitally,
Hey,
right? And those are the main platforms. You could probably also reach out to Adrian, so you can just go online to Worth Gallery at Worth Gallery
okay.
uh, via Instagram or even Adrian Hales, ADRE, so ADRIANHAYLES, Adrian Hales at Instagram, and so you can reach out to us right now directly, and then more. We're actually doing a reading this Sunday afternoon down by Dufferin Grove School. More details to come. But yeah, hit us up Instagram or our website, and the journey is Guanin. So there's going to be more and more copies. It's going to be cool because we're actually
Man.
just doing promo from now until Kwanzaa time. So it's we're
Mm,
it's up.
okay,
It's
okay.
lit.
That's
Yeah,
Yo,
what's up,
yeah.
man. Get it, get
congratulations
it,
on
get
it.
it.
Appreciate you
Congratulations.
so
That's a
much. I
beautiful
couldn't have
book.
done it without the community, no doubt.
Yes, sir. All
That's
right,
right.
man. So we're gonna sign off like that, man. Reminisce show every Tuesday, man, carrying the tradition of St. Kofa. Because we gotta go back and collect and
Mm-hmm,
bring back what
mm-hmm,
is useful.
mm-hmm,
I mean, we do
mm-hmm.
this every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, live. Make sure y'all tap in, man. Big up to Joe for coming through and
Appreciate
sharing
it.
his gifts with us and
Appreciate
inspiration, man.
it.
I
Thank
I,
you for
I have to
having
get
me.
my children's book now, man. I got my children's book on this. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you
Like,
have to. I'm
that's
with
what it
you. I'm
is.
with you. I'm with you.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you any inspiration, I got you.
For sure, man. For sure, for sure. All right,
I'll
Joe.
get
That's
my
what's up,
Mr.
man.
Front Row. Yeah, man. No doubt. We all got to get our books ready. I got to get my Mr. Front Row book ready. That's my baby.
Challenge both of you to write a line tonight.
Oh, I did my
Just one
writing
line.
earlier today, but I will write another line.
Just one
Yes,
line.
There,
thank
that's
you.
it.
Just one
Right?
line.
Just one
I
line.
like
I'm gonna
that. I
do the
like that.
same.
Just peace.
All
Just
Yes,
right.
man.
peace, man. All
All
right,
right.
Joe. We're gonna
Peace.
sign off.